Welcome to Luxury Collection Apprenticeship Highlights, featuring LPT agents Miranda and Ben.
Let's be a social media guru. We're supposed to be an expert at door knocking. And on top of all this, we need to know the amenities for every HOA that ever existed, right? Like the scope of what we're expected to be extraordinary at is overwhelming, to say the least. Like, my biggest recommendation to everyone and anyone trying to build themselves up in luxury real estate now or ever is to identify third-party companies. What you really need to know is that you can't do it all. And the second you start to build momentum and you really start to get the aggressive activity that you're supposed to have in the real estate business, now where the consumer, the customer, is taking up your time and you're on your cell phone and you're constantly in the middle of transactional volume, taking new listings live, closing deals, which FYI, your number one job is knowing your sales contract and closing transactions. That's what you are. That's what you do. So all this other stuff that pulls us in a multitude of directions. If you Google yourself and you're like, I don't look like a luxury real estate agent at all, actually, like, how do I fix that? This is so simple and this is so easy. Hire someone. Hire someone else to do this for you. I highly recommend it. There are a multitude of companies. The thing is, for everything, real estate when I started a decade ago was a lot simpler. I think we had Facebook and a little bit of LinkedIn. Now you have Instagram, add in TikTok, add in Threads, X. I don't care how many platforms you think you need to be present on. I always recommend picking one or two, but it's no joke that a majority of our business does come through social media channels. I can tell you that 80 to 90% of my business has come through social media channels. So it's super, super important. What company do I recommend? Great question. I do have a personal recommendation, a company that is consistently, I was gonna tell you that you should all choose your own companies and do your research as far as who's locally available. There are companies that do this nationally. Real Greater.
What are your key takeaways so far?
They're a company that they continually and constantly sponsor things like Inman Connect in Las Vegas and New York. I've had detailed conversations with their corporate executives. Guys, I also highly recommend Luxury Presence. Now, every and any brand that you build a relationship with, it's super important that they listen to you, that you know what you're being charged for, that you're you're shopping price comparatively. But there are key brands that luxury real estate agents throughout the country, some of my top producing friends, have utilized to get to where they are today. Luxury Presence for your website design, bar none. When I talked to them at Inman Connect in New York just recently over my travels a couple weeks ago, they are talking about building a partnership with Lofty. This is not newsworthy. I don't know how far in the dialogue they are in having this conversation. It's very minimal. I know right now there's some kind of Zapier link that can connect the two, but do know that all of this is on the periphery. Luxury Presence hosts websites, and a lot of you who are currently in right now have actually, I've seen a few names here who you're utilizing Luxury Presence and you're just starting on that path. I can tell you that Kumara, one of my friends, Kumara in Austin, Texas, uses Luxury Presence. She's had great success with that. Delana Baker in Atlanta, if any of you know Delana, she does a great job. She's constantly public speaking. She's constantly doing keynotes. She has had a great relationship with Luxury Presence. They have a scale, a minimum package that you can buy and an upward package. But the point is, when it comes to website design, if you want to look luxury, you have to look luxury. And you can't, guys, these are not expenses that you can skimp on. These are the expenses that you have to dive deep on. So Real Greater, the other one I was expressing or mentioning, you basically set up a brand with them. You kind of identify yourself as who you're going to be, you know, your cover pictures, your profile pictures, your bios, and they make sure that that is visible consistently on every single platform. How many of you have recently gone into things like realtor.com and it doesn't even have your profile picture on it, and your bio is like 5 years outdated? Like, some of us, if you're new to the industry, you need to start uploading that consistently straight out the gate. But if you've been in the industry a while, you also need to update those profiles. So I highly recommend, when it comes to things that you can take off of your plate, if any of you have done Ninja Selling, Larry Kindle, it's a great book. It's an even better installation when you do it live. it's really about using your highest and best use of your time, right? As an agent, you are completely overwhelmed with all the tasks that you're supposed to be doing daily and consistently. And at the end of the day, the most important tasks are really for you to be selling real estate, specifically here, selling luxury real estate. So anything that you're not best in the world at, you should be taking off of your plate, outsourcing, paying for, segregating that into a component where it can be executed by someone who's more efficient at it than you. And when you do start to have the level of success that you think you're going to have in your career, where you're constantly being bombarded and in high demand, now you can delegate and push those tasks off your plate so you actually have some kind of work-life balance, guys. And I don't care if you're doing high transactional volume at lower sales prices, or if you're trying to really up your average sales price and do less quantity of transactions at a higher value. This is a key component that you should be knocking out of the park with all that you do. So number one, Google yourself. Make notes of what you see. Make notes of the websites that need to be updated. Do you even have subscriptions or accounts to those websites? How do you get accounts to those websites? Google reviews is a big thing. Tom Ferry preaches to Google reviews day in and day out. You need to see what the public is seeing, because if you cold call an expired listing, even if you say that you're, teaming up with a key agent who's, powerful with a great track record, they're still going to look you up. So you need to make sure that if someone's Googling you, you have the type of reputation and notoriety, or at least the presence of that, right? The presence of becoming that. If you tend to do a lot of sales with investors and their lower price points and their cash deals and crappy neighborhoods, because that's what investments usually are, they're really not physically appealing purchases for the consumer, but there's a lot of ROI on the rehabilitation of that property and the opportunity to flip it. Maybe we're just not going to put that on our social media anymore. Like, you can still do those transactions, but maybe we're just not going to show that. That was one of the biggest lessons that I learned from a private coach that I hired, a very, very expensive coach. If you guys, please, if you can, if any of you can go into support, write a ticket to the executive team and thank them for what they're investing in you in this space. The fact that you guys get access to all of this complimentary information bi-weekly, every other Monday, by Benjamin Hillman and myself so far, and likely going forward by a vast array of additional people who are well sourced in this space. Guys, this is epic and legendary and totally shifting for the industry. This is not something, giving this information away complimentary to the masses for you guys to be able to just digest and use. I can tell you, if you have not watched every class going up until now, do. You have access to it, it's free. If you have, and you're not seeing any kind of successful results, I would take a hardcore dive into your daily actions. How are you spending your time? Because if you're not seeing success, it's because you're probably not planting the seeds for it. Granted, luxury real estate, if you're going to do this all by yourself, no coach, no mentor, it can take you anywhere from 6 to 9 months at a minimum to kind of get your feet under yourself and get the momentum going to have 1 or 2 transaction success, but it can take years. So you have to understand that we're helping you expedite the process of entering this space hardcore, full throttle, all gas, no brakes, so that you can really leverage every opportunity for yourself to really conquer.
Want to see more? Receive new complete episodes and continuous free additional training. Hop on a 15-minute call with Diana to find out more about LPT Realty.